The year was 1990. It Must Have Been Love by Roxette was topping the charts. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air had us all laughing on TV, and Ghost was the movie that had everyone talking. But 1990 wasn't just about music, TV, and movies. It was a groundbreaking year for video games, too. So today, we're counting down the 10 best games of 1990. Let's dive in. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Ninja Gaiden 2, The Dark Sword of Chaos. This sequel took the action to new heights with its brutal difficulty and intricate level design. As Ryu Hayabusa, players battled through hordes of enemies, seeking revenge and cementing its place in action game history. At number 9, we have Loom. A game unlike any other, players controlled Bobbin Threadbare, using music-based magic to solve puzzles. With its innovative gameplay and hauntingly beautiful soundtrack, Loom became a beloved title for those looking for something truly different. Sliding in at number 8, we have Dr. Mario. This addictive puzzle game had us matching colors and clearing viruses on the go. Its simple yet challenging gameplay made it a hit, especially on the Game Boy, where portability added to the fun. Coming in at number 7, Final Fantasy III. Though it wouldn't hit North America until later, its 1990 release in Japan was groundbreaking. With its rich storyline, unforgettable characters like Terra and Kefka, and a grand operatic scope, it became a defining title in the RPG genre. At number 6, we have Metal Gear 2, Solid Snake. This game took stealth gaming to the next level, with players guiding Solid Snake through enemy territory. It laid the foundation for what would become one of gaming's most legendary franchises. Number 5 races in with F-Zero. Released for the Super Nintendo, this fast-paced racer pushed the limits with futuristic tracks and intense speeds, leaving a lasting impact on the racing genre and introducing us to the thrilling world of hovercraft racing. Halfway through at number 4, we've got Mega Man 3. This installment brought new bosses, improved mechanics, and introduced us to Rush, Mega Man's trusty robotic companion. It balanced challenge with fun, making it one of the most beloved titles in the series. Flying high at number 3 is Wing Commander. Revolutionary for its cinematic storytelling and intense space combat, this game made you feel like you were in a blockbuster movie, complete with engaging missions and a cast of memorable characters. Sailing into number 2, we've got The Secret of Monkey Island. With its clever puzzles and sharp humor, this point-and-click adventure became a fan favorite. Players navigated the world as Guybrush Threepwood, an aspiring pirate, making it a landmark in adventure gaming. And finally, taking the top spot at number 1, Super Mario World. This game wasn't just a platformer, it was a true adventure. With the introduction of Yoshi, vast levels, and creative power-ups like the cape, it raised the bar for what video games could be, defining the platforming genre for generations to come. And there you have it, the top 10 video games of 1990, each one a piece of gaming history. What's your favorite from the list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this nostalgic trip, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next countdown. Up next, we're diving into 1991. The year was 1991. I've Been Thinking About You by London Beat topped the charts, The Silence of the Lambs chilled moviegoers, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air continued to entertain. But 1991 was also an incredible year for video games. Today, we're counting down the 10 best games of 1991. Let's dive in. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. This arcade classic brought the beloved TMNT to life with its fast-paced, side-scrolling beat-em-up action, allowing up to 4 players to join in the pizza-fueled chaos. At number 9, let's talk about Super Castlevania 4. Super Castlevania 4 for the Super Nintendo brought the vampire hunting adventures of Simon Belmont to new heights with improved graphics and level design, all while staying true to the series' challenging roots. Number 8 brings us Lemmings. Lemmings was a puzzle game that became a cultural phenomenon. Players had to guide the lemmings to safety using unique abilities, with each level challenging your strategic thinking. Sliding into number 7, we find Tecmo Super Bowl. Tecmo Super Bowl revolutionized sports gaming with its then unmatched realism, detailed rosters, and addictive gameplay, setting the stage for future sports video games.
Red 24, red 24.
At number 6, we dive into Monkey Island 2: LeChuck's Revenge. This point-and-click adventure game upped the ante with its humor, puzzles, and the return of Guybrush Threepwood. Its wit and charm cemented its place in adventure game history. Number 5 is Final Fantasy IV. Originally a Super Nintendo exclusive in Japan, Final Fantasy IV introduced players to a deep narrative, complex characters, and an active time battle system, making it a landmark RPG. Halfway through at number 4, we have Sid Meier's Civilization. Civilization transformed strategy gaming by allowing players to guide a civilization from the dawn of man to the space age, offering layers of depth and replayability that few games could match. Number 3 speeds by with Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic burst onto the scene with his high-speed action, introducing gamers to a new mascot and redefining platformers with his non-stop, loop-de-looped adventure. At number 2, we have The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Zelda returned with an epic tale that expanded the franchise's universe, introducing a parallel world for Link to explore, innovative gameplay, and one of the most beloved stories in gaming. And finally, at the top spot, number 1 is Street Fighter II. Street Fighter II wasn't just a game, it was a phenomenon. With its accessible controls, diverse characters, and competitive multiplayer, it popularized fighting games worldwide. And there you have it, folks, the top 10 games of 1991, each a piece of gaming history that shaped our love for this medium. What's your favorite from this list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Up next, 1992. The year was 1992. I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston topped the charts. Wayne's World had us saying "Party On!" And The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was still going strong. But 1992 was also a landmark year for video games. Let's count down the top 10 games that defined 1992. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Virtua Racing. Virtua Racing was Sega's first step into the world of 3D polygon-based arcade racing games. Here's something cool. It's often considered one of the first arcade games to use polygonal graphics extensively, setting a new standard for visual fidelity in gaming. At number 9, let's talk about Super Mario Land 2: 6 Golden Coins. This Game Boy classic introduced Mario to a new adventure with a unique power-up system. It was one of the earliest games to use a password system for saving, which was pretty rare for Game Boy games at the time. Number 8 brings us Final Fantasy V. Final Fantasy V is famous for its job system, allowing characters to change classes, adding immense depth to gameplay. Its development was overseen by Hironobu Sakaguchi, who later founded Mistwalker, the studio behind games like Blue Dragon. Sliding into number 7, we find Dune 2: The Building of a Dynasty. Dune 2 is widely regarded as the first real-time strategy game, setting the stage for future RTS hits. It was one of the first games to use mouse-driven interface elements, which became standard in RTS games. At number 6, we dive into Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. This point-and-click adventure offered 3 different paths to completion, adding replay value with its branching storylines. It was developed by Jordan Mechner, who also created Prince of Persia, blending puzzle solving with narrative adventure. Number 5 is Streets of Rage 2. Streets of Rage 2 improved on its predecessor with better graphics, deeper gameplay, and more characters. Fun fact, it was one of the first games to feature selectable difficulty levels on the Genesis, giving players options of easy, normal, or hard. At number 4, we have Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This sequel added Tails as a playable character, introducing cooperative gameplay. Its development was so rushed that the debug mode was accidentally left in the final game, allowing players to explore unfinished levels. Number 3 is Wolfenstein 3D. Wolfenstein 3D revolutionized first-person shooters, setting a template for the genre. It was one of the first games to spark discussions on video game violence, leading to some censorship in its release versions. At number 2, we have Super Mario Kart. Super Mario Kart brought Mario and friends to the racing genre, introducing power-ups that became staples in kart racing games. The game was initially delayed due to the complexity of getting all of the cars on screen simultaneously, which was unprecedented at the time. And finally, at the top spot, number 1 is Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat not only introduced gore and fatalities, but also changed fighting games with its digitized characters. Its controversial content led to the creation of the Entertainment Software Rating Board, ESRB, forever changing how games are rated. And there you have it, folks. The top 10 games of 1992, each leaving a lasting legacy in gaming culture. What's your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Up next, 1993. The year was 1993. I'm Every Woman by Whitney Houston was climbing the charts. Jurassic Park brought dinosaurs to life on the big screen, and Star Trek: The Next Generation was cruising through TV. But 1993 was also a pivotal year for video games. Let's dive into the top 10 games that defined the year. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Star Fox. Star Fox for the Super Nintendo introduced players to polygonal 3D graphics in a way that hadn't been done before. It was one of the first games to use the Super FX chip, allowing for pseudo 3D graphics. At number 9, let's talk about Secret of Mana. Secret of Mana brought RPG action to new heights, with its real-time combat system and cooperative multiplayer. It was one of the first RPGs to allow players to control 3 characters simultaneously. Number 8 brings us Kirby's Adventure. Kirby's Adventure on the NES was not just fun. It introduced the world to Kirby's ability to inhale enemies and gain their powers. This game was the first in the series to feature the iconic pink puffball. Sliding into number 7, we find Sam and Max Hit the Road. This point-and-click adventure game brought the irreverent humor of Sam and Max to life. The game's development was supported by a large fan base, which helped it get off the ground.
I can't pick that up.
At number 6, we have Mega Man X. Mega Man X revitalized the franchise with a more mature aesthetic and introduced the Maverick Hunters. The game's development was led by Keiji Inafune, who later became a key figure in the gaming industry. Number 5 is Maniac Mansion 2: Day of the Tentacle.
Neat.
This adventure game was renowned for its time travel puzzles and humor. It was one of the first games to use full speech for dialogue, which was groundbreaking at the time. Halfway through at number 4, we have The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening brought the beloved hero to the Game Boy, expanding the franchise with its unique storyline and dreamlike world. It was originally conceived as a side-scrolling game before evolving into a top-down adventure. Number 3 is Mortal Kombat 2. Mortal Kombat 2 expanded the world of combat with new fighters and stages. It's one of the best-selling arcade games of all time, continuing the series' legacy of arcade dominance. At number 2, we have Myst. Myst was a groundbreaking adventure game with its immersive puzzles and beautiful pre-rendered graphics. It sold over 12 million copies, making it one of the best-selling PC games ever. And finally, at the top spot, number 1 is Doom. Doom set the standard for first-person shooters with its fast-paced gameplay and dark aesthetic. Its shareware version was so popular that it played a significant role in popularizing the FPS genre. And there you have it, folks. The top 10 games of 1993, each carving out a piece of gaming history. What's your favorite from this list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Up next, 1994. The year was 1994. I Swear by All For One topped the charts. The Lion King roared into theaters, and Seinfeld was the must-watch TV show. But 1994 was also a monumental year for video games. Let's dive into the top 10 games that defined the year. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Earthworm Jim. Earthworm Jim turned a humble worm into a superhero with its quirky humor and challenging platforming. It was one of the first games to use detailed, pre-rendered 2D sprite graphics, giving it a unique look. At number 9, let's talk about Star Wars TIE Fighter. TIE Fighter let players experience the Star Wars universe from the perspective of the Empire. Its complex flight mechanics and detailed storylines made it a favorite among flight sim enthusiasts. Number 8 brings us Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct brought stunning graphics and combo-based fighting to arcades. The game's character designs were done by Double Helix, known for their work on comics like The Darkness. Sliding into number 7, we find Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. This combo of Sonic 3 and Knuckles introduced new levels, characters, and the lock-on technology. When Sonic 3 was released, it was initially criticized for its short length, leading to Knuckles as an expansion. At number 6, we have XCOM UFO Defense. XCOM redefined strategy games with its turn-based combat and base management. Its alien abduction theme and secrecy were inspired by real-life conspiracy theories and UFO phenomena. Number 5 is Doom 2. Hell on Earth. Doom 2 expanded on the original with new levels and weapons, cementing the franchise's legacy. It's one of the first games to be released through a subscription service, something quite innovative for 1994. At number 4, we have Donkey Kong Country. Donkey Kong Country wowed players with its pre-rendered graphics. It was one of the first games to use a CD for development, which allowed for the creation of detailed, hand-drawn backgrounds. Number 3 is Earthbound. Earthbound brought a quirky, Americanized RPG experience to life. Its development was heavily inspired by the American pop culture of the 1980s and 90s, making it a unique entry in the RPG genre. At number 2, we have Super Metroid. Super Metroid set the standard for the Metroidvania genre with its exploration-based gameplay and atmospheric music. It was one of the first games to feature a save system that allowed players to save anywhere thanks to the use of battery backup. And finally, at the top spot, number 1 is Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI introduced players to a deep narrative with unforgettable characters like Kefka. It was one of the first games to tell a story where the villain could actually win, significantly impacting the plot. And there you have it, folks. The top 10 games of 1994, each a masterpiece in its own right, shaping the gaming landscape we enjoy today. What's your favorite from this list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Up next, 1995. The year was 1995. Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio dominated the airwaves. Toy Story introduced us to Pixar magic, and Friends became the show everyone talked about. But 1995 was also a groundbreaking year for video games. Let's dive into the top 10 games that defined the year. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Worms. Worms brought quirky, turn-based warfare to the gaming scene with its humor and destructible environments. It was one of the first games to succeed on both PC and console platforms. At number 9, let's talk about Soul Edge. Soul Edge introduced players to 3D weapon-based fighting. Its character creation system was one of the first in fighting games, allowing players to customize their fighters. Number 8 brings us Full Throttle. Full Throttle was an adventure game that blended motorcycles, heavy metal, and humor. It was one of the last games from LucasArts to use the SCUM engine, famous for its point-and-click interface. Sliding into number 7, we find Tekken 2. Tekken 2 expanded on the original with more characters and stages, solidifying the franchise's place in the fighting game genre. It was the first Tekken game to feature an arcade stick in the home version. At number 6, we have Mortal Kombat 3. Mortal Kombat 3 continued the legacy with new fighters and mechanics. It introduced the run button, which changed the pacing and strategy of fights. Number 5 is Command & Conquer. Command & Conquer revolutionized real-time strategy games with its cinematic feel and competitive multiplayer. Its Red Alert expansion introduced time travel and alternate history themes. At number 4, we have Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness. Warcraft 2 expanded the lore of Azeroth with its epic battles and resource management. Its success laid the groundwork for the World of Warcraft MMO. Number 3 is Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest. This sequel upped the ante with more detailed graphics and a story-driven adventure. It was one of the first games to use the Super FX2 chip, enhancing its graphical capabilities. At number 2, we have Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Yoshi's Island introduced a colorful, hand-drawn art style and innovative gameplay, featuring Yoshi as the star. Its art direction was heavily inspired by children's books, giving it a unique visual flair. And finally, at the top spot, number 1 is Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger seamlessly blended time travel, RPG elements, and an unforgettable story. It was developed by a dream team including Hironobu Sakaguchi, Yuji Horii, and Akira Toriyama, creators behind Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and Dragon Ball, respectively. And there you have it, folks. The top 10 games of 1995, each a masterpiece in its own way, shaping the future of gaming. What's your favorite from this list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Up next, 1996. The year was 1996. Macarena by Los Del Rio was the dance that everyone learned. In the theaters, Independence Day had us looking to the skies, and ER was the medical drama that had everyone hooked to the TV. But 1996 was also a revolutionary year for video games. Let's dive into the top 10 games that defined that year. Let's get started. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars. This game was a unique blend of Mario's world with RPG elements, offering turn-based combat and a memorable story. It was the first time Mario and Square, now Square Enix, joined forces, leading to a charming narrative with characters like Geno and Mallow. It also introduced an innovative timed hit system in battles. At number 9, we have Duke Nukem 3D. Duke Nukem 3D wasn't just about shooting. It was about the experience of a wisecracking hero in a vividly detailed world. The game's level design allowed for unprecedented interaction, like using toilets or playing arcade games within the game. Its engine was so advanced for its time that it even inspired the creation of the Source engine by Valve. Number 8 brings us Mario Kart 64. Mario Kart 64 took the racing series into a new dimension, literally, with its 3D environments. It featured iconic tracks like Rainbow Road and introduced multiplayer chaos, with 4-player split screen. The game also introduced mirror mode, flipping all the tracks for added challenge. Sliding into number 7, we find Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot was Naughty Dog's debut on PlayStation, introducing us to a unique platforming experience where precision was key. The game's challenging levels, combined with its quirky characters and vibrant worlds, made it a standout. The original game was so tough, it led to the development of secret paths to skip difficult sections. At number 6, we have Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider introduced Lara Croft to the world, setting a new standard for adventure games with its puzzle-solving and exploration. The game's third-person perspective and emphasis on exploration were revolutionary. Lara Croft's character design was inspired by several figures, including a female model with an athletic build. Number 5 is Resident Evil. Resident Evil was the birth of survival horror, where players had to manage resources like ammo and health items while navigating through a mansion full of secrets and zombies. Its fixed camera angles added to the tension. The game's original Japanese title, Biohazard, was changed for the North American release to avoid trademark conflicts. At number 4, we have Sid Meier's Civilization II. Civilization II expanded the scope of the original game with new civilizations, technological advancements, and wonders of the world. It introduced concepts like city micromanagement and a more complex diplomacy system. It was one of the first games to receive a score of 100 from PC Gamer magazine. Number 3 is Quake. Quake was not just a game. It was a technological leap in the FPS genre, with its dark Gothic architecture and fast-paced action. Its multiplayer capabilities and modding support changed gaming culture. The Quake engine was so influential that it's considered a precursor to modern game engines, impacting games like Half-Life. At number 2, we have Pokémon Red and Blue. Pokémon Red and Blue turned gaming into a social phenomenon, where players collected, traded, and battled with creatures. The game's depth in strategy and the emotional connection to Pokémon were unprecedented. The trading feature was revolutionary, encouraging social interaction in ways video games hadn't before. And finally, at the top spot, number 1 is Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64 was a groundbreaking leap into 3D gaming, offering a sense of freedom with its open-world design and innovative use of the analog stick for movement. The game's level design, with secrets and stars to find, set a new standard for platformers. It was initially conceptualized during the development of the Star Fox game for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And there you have it, folks, the top 10 games of 1996, each a landmark in gaming history with lasting impacts. What's your favorite from this list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Up next, 1997. The year was 1997. Candle in the Wind by Elton John was the song of the year commemorating the loss of Princess Diana. In theaters, Titanic was breaking box office records and Seinfeld was still ruling TV. But 1997 was also a monumental year for video games. Let's dive into the top 10 games that defined that year. Let's get started. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Riven. Riven was the sequel to the groundbreaking Myst, expanding the puzzle adventure with even more immersive pre-rendered graphics and complex puzzles. It was one of the first games to ship on multiple CDs due to its sheer size and detail, offering players a vast, mysterious world to explore. At number 9, we have Grand Theft Auto. The original Grand Theft Auto introduced an open-world crime simulator that was both controversial and revolutionary. Its top-down perspective allowed players to engage in a variety of missions in different cities. The game's concept was inspired by the 1976 film Taxi Driver, reflecting a gritty urban environment. Number 8 brings us Star Fox 64. Star Fox 64, also known as Lylat Wars in Europe, refined the on-rails shooter experience with branching paths and memorable dialogue. It was known for its smooth 3D graphics and cooperative multiplayer. The game's voice acting became iconic, especially with lines like, "Do a barrel roll." Sliding into number 7, we find The Curse of Monkey Island. This point-and-click adventure continued the Monkey Island saga with its humor and unique art style, moving to a more cartoon-like look. The game revitalized the series with its engaging story and challenging puzzles. It was one of the last games from LucasArts to use the SCUM engine before moving to 3D. At number 6, we have Diablo. Diablo set the stage for action RPGs with its dark, atmospheric dungeons, addictive loot system, and multiplayer options.
The sanctity of
Its click-to-attack system was simple yet effective, drawing players into hours of gameplay. The game was originally envisioned as a turn-based RPG, but was switched to real-time due to the gameplay flow. Number 5 is Fallout. Fallout introduced the world to a post-apocalyptic RPG where your choices mattered. Its narrative depth, character development, and open-ended gameplay were revolutionary. The game's setting was inspired by classic sci-fi films like Mad Max and A Boy and His Dog, giving it a unique retro-futuristic vibe. At number 4, we have Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo was a game-changer in racing simulators, focusing on realism with its car models, physics, and customization options. It's credited with popularizing the sim racing genre on consoles. The development team was so dedicated to realism that they even visited car manufacturers to get accurate data. Number 3 is Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. Symphony of the Night redefined the Castlevania series with its exploration, intricate level design, and RPG elements. Its narrative depth and bringing back Alucard were captivating. The game was initially planned as a side story, but became one of the most beloved entries in the franchise. At number 2, we have GoldenEye 007. GoldenEye 007 was not just a game, it was a cultural phenomenon for its time, bringing espionage, stealth, and multiplayer to the FPS genre on consoles. Its level design and split-screen multiplayer mode were groundbreaking. The game's development was so secret that even Nintendo didn't know much about it until late in the process. And finally, at the top spot, number 1 is Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII was a milestone in RPGs, introducing the world to Cloudstrife, Sephiroth, and the city of Midgar. Its storytelling, character development, and cinematic presentation set new standards. The game's development was so extensive that it required the creation of new technology for its time. including the use of pre-rendered backgrounds. And there you have it, folks, the top 10 games of 1997, each contributing to a legacy of innovation in gaming. What's your favorite from this list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Up next, 1998. The year was 1998. On the radio, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion was the soundtrack to our lives. In the theaters, Saving Private Ryan redefined war films. And on TV, Seinfeld was in its final season. But 1998 was also an incredible year for video games. Let's dive into the top 10 games that defined that year. Let's get started. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Thief: The Dark Project. Thief was a pioneering stealth game that emphasized light and sound for gameplay. Playing as Garrett, the master thief, players had to manipulate shadows and silence to avoid detection. It was one of the first games to feature a fully 3D world with a focus on stealth, setting the stage for future titles in the genre. The game's sound design was particularly innovative, where every noise could alert guards. At number 9, we have Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie was a love letter to platforming, with its vibrant worlds, charming characters, and clever puzzles. This game took players on an adventure through fantastical environments, each with its own unique theme and challenges. The game's creator, Rare, initially planned for Banjo and Kazooie to be separate characters, but they merged them into one for a more unique gameplay experience. The collect-a-thon style of Banjo-Kazooie influenced many games that followed. Number 8 brings us Grim Fandango. Grim Fandango was an adventure game like no other, set in a noir-style underworld with a Day of the Dead theme. Its story, characters, and Art Deco aesthetics were unparalleled. It was one of the last adventure games from LucasArts to use the SCUM engine, but it also incorporated elements of action-adventure, making it a bridge between genres. The game's dialogue and story were so well regarded that it's often cited in discussions about video game narrative. Sliding into number 7, we find Fallout 2. Fallout 2 expanded on its predecessor with a larger world, deeper story, and more character customization. This RPG let players explore a post-nuclear America with humor, satire, and a ton of player choice. It introduced the concept of perks more comprehensively, allowing for a wide array of character builds. The game's world was so vast that even today, players discover new content they missed. At number 6, we have Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 refined the survival horror formula with dual protagonists Leon S. Kennedy and Claire Redfield, whose stories intertwined in Raccoon City. The game introduced new gameplay mechanics like dual scenarios and more dynamic camera work. The game was developed using Capcom's in-house engine, which was a significant upgrade from the first game, offering more detailed environments and scarier zombies. Number 5 is Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur took the fighting game genre to new heights with its 3D combat, weapon-based mechanics, and stunning graphics for the Dreamcast. Each character had unique weapons and fighting styles, adding depth to the combat system. Its character creation mode was revolutionary, allowing players to craft their fighters, which was relatively unheard of in fighting games at the time. At number 4, we have StarCraft. StarCraft wasn't just a game. It was a phenomenon that defined strategy gaming for years. Its balance between Terran, Zerg, and Protoss races offered endless strategic depth, and its competitive scene became legendary. Blizzard initially planned for StarCraft to be a sequel to Warcraft, but it evolved into its own universe. The game's storytelling through mission briefings was also innovative for its time. Number 3 is Half-Life. Half-Life changed the FPS genre with its narrative-driven gameplay, where the story was told through environmental storytelling and without traditional cutscenes. Gordon Freeman's journey through Black Mesa was both a technological and narrative leap. The game's development was so secretive that Valve had to create decoy projects to avoid leaks. The introduction of the gravity gun in later expansions would further cement its legacy. At number 2, we have Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid brought espionage and stealth to the forefront, blending intricate storytelling with innovative gameplay. With its cinematic presentation, voice acting, and plot twists, it was unlike any other game. Hideo Kojima, the creator, was heavily inspired by action movies, which is why the game feels like an interactive film. The Psycho Mantis boss fight, using the player's memory card and controller ports, was groundbreaking. And finally, at the top spot, number 1 is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time is often hailed as one of the greatest games ever made, introducing 3D Zelda gameplay with its time travel mechanic, memorable dungeons, and an epic narrative. The game's world, Hyrule, was expansive for its time, offering players freedom to explore. The development team used a system called Z-targeting for combat, which became a staple in action-adventure games. The ocarina itself was a novel way to interact with the game world, allowing music to solve puzzles and advance the story. And there you have it, folks, the top 10 games of 1998, each with its own legacy in pushing the boundaries of what video games could be. What's your favorite from this list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Up next, 1999. The year was 1999. On the radio, Baby One More Time by Britney Spears was the pop hit. In theaters, The Matrix bent our minds, and The Sopranos debuted on TV. But 1999 was a defining year for video games too. Let's dive into the top 10 games that shaped that era. Let's get started. Kicking things off at number 10, we have EverQuest. EverQuest was one of the first truly massive MMORPGs, offering a persistent online world where players could live out their fantasy adventures. With its vast landscapes and complex class system, it established many of the conventions of the genre. EverQuest was so immersive that players would spend real-world months just traveling between cities, showcasing the game's expansive world. At number 9, let's talk about Age of Empires II, The Age of Kings. Age of Empires II refined the real-time strategy genre with its historical accuracy, diverse civilizations, and deep economy management. Its campaign mode told engaging stories of historical figures, while multiplayer became a staple for strategy gamers. The game's development involved extensive historical research to ensure the accuracy of units, buildings, and technologies for each civilization. Number 8 brings us Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII took the series in new directions with its junction system, allowing players to customize their characters in unprecedented ways. Its narrative, focusing on love and loss, was complemented by one of the most memorable soundtracks in gaming. The game's card game, Triple Triad, became so popular that it's been included in later Final Fantasy games and mobile apps. Sliding into number 7, we find Super Smash Bros. Smash Bros. Introduced a new kind of fighting game where characters from different Nintendo franchises clashed in a fun, accessible way. The game's unique mechanics, like stage hazards and items, set it apart from traditional fighters. The idea for Smash Bros. Came from a fan-made fighting game concept, showing how community ideas can influence big games. At number 6, we have Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross was an ambitious sequel to Chrono Trigger, expanding the narrative across parallel worlds with a cast of over 40 playable characters. Its storytelling, music, and battle system were critically acclaimed. The game was initially so large that it couldn't fit on one PlayStation disc, leading to considerations for a multi-disc release before optimization. Number 5 is Planescape Torment. Planescape Torment was an RPG where the journey was more about the mind and soul than physical combat. Its story, set in one of the most unique D&D settings, Plane of Sigil, was all about your character's past lives and redemption. The game's emphasis on dialogue, choices, and consequences was groundbreaking, influencing many RPGs that followed. At number 4, we have Pokémon Gold and Silver. Pokémon Gold and Silver expanded the Pokémon world with new regions, day-night cycles, and a whole new roster of Pokémon to catch. It also introduced breeding, shiny Pokémon, and the continuation of the player's journey from the previous games. The game's development team was so dedicated that they even researched real-world animal behaviors to bring authenticity to the Pokémon's actions. Number 3 is Unreal Tournament. Unreal Tournament was a festival of fast-paced, arena-style shooting with a focus on multiplayer competition. Its level design, weapon balance, and adrenaline-pumping matches made it a legend in the FPS community. Unreal Tournament was one of the first games to have a dedicated esports scene, with tournaments that are still remembered today for their intensity. At number 2, we have Silent Hill. Silent Hill brought psychological horror to the forefront, with its foggy, mysterious town and narrative driven by personal demons rather than just physical threats. Its use of sound, visuals, and story to create dread was unparalleled. The game's fog was initially used to mask the limitations of the PlayStation's draw distance, but became a defining atmospheric element. And finally, at the top spot, number 1 is System Shock 2. System Shock 2 combined immersive sim elements with horror in a way that few games had done before. Playing as a soldier on a haunted space station, players had to manage resources, hack systems, and outsmart the AI, Shodan. The game's influence can be seen in titles like BioShock, which took inspiration from System Shock's gameplay and narrative depth. The player's freedom to approach problems in multiple ways was revolutionary. And there you have it, folks. The top 10 games of 1999, each a testament to the creativity and innovation of that time in gaming. What's your favorite from this list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Up next, the new millennium with the year 2000. Tuned.